So, was it?
Right, I came up with these while I was while we were eating tonight.
Speak up.
Okay, first one is were you drafted or did you volunteer?
I was drafted almost out of high school.
Wow.
I was only out a month or a month and a half, and I was drafted.
All right, what country did you serve in?
Italy. Where's that thing at here?
Ooh, read it, Ben.
Sicily, Italy, and what else?
Is this the newspaper from it?
Well, that there's from over there. You could look at it. You could look at it.
Africa, Sicily,
Yes, yeah.
Italy.
I did get in right after the fight of North Africa was over. Is when I was inducted.
Oh.
I was put in for a replacement
Okay.
because they lost so many soldiers out there in Africa.
Dad's got some neat stuff too.
Were you in Africa a little bit?
No,
Oh.
never got into Africa.
Yeah.
After that campaign was over, I started in Italy.
Oh.
That's where we docked at, in Italy.
My grandpa was in Italy for just a little bit, then he went to Italy.
Oh yeah.
Or North Africa for a little bit,
Oh,
then he went
yeah.
to Italy.
Well, what was he in?
He was a medic,
A medic. Huh?
Mhm.
Yeah,
and he did most of it in North Africa.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they had a lot of trouble over there, I tell you.
Yeah. All right, another question is what places did you get to see? Like any?
What place in Italy?
Yeah.
I've been all over Italy,
Did
from
you,
one end to the other.
Like any of the monuments over
Huh?
there? Like any of the big monuments?
What was that thing?
I was up in Pizza,
The-
Leaning Tower Pizza,
Yeah.
right there.
Oh.
I went up in that twice. We were stationed in Pizza for a while.
Hmm.
And as the front lines moved forward, then we would move from one town to another, going down through Italy. We were in Rome, we were in Florence, Italy, and Rome, and just town after town right down the coast. And we were always on the coast.
All right. What were the people like out there?
Huh?
Like the locals? What were they like?
Real nice. It's tickled to death to see us. When we got into Rome, I rode a Jeep going into Rome, and it was our wire Jeep. It's what we called our wire Jeep. There was 4 of us, and rode the Jeep into Rome, and boy, the people were so happy to see Americans coming in there.
Oh.
Yeah, yep.
They knew you were there to help them.
The front had already moved past Rome.
Huh.
It had already moved past Rome. That's how we got there. And while I was there, I got to see the Catholic Cathedral in Rome. And then we toured a museum there also in Rome. And we stayed there probably a week or maybe a week and a half, and then had to move forward. And we moved to a different location. I don't just remember what it was, but we were on Anzio Beachhead for a while. Yeah,
Anzio
before we
Beach.
got to Rome.
That was a big
Yeah,
Anzio Beach was.
yes.
It's a big battle.
Oh yeah, big battle. Yeah. But it was already taken when we moved up.
Okay.
Oh.
See, our job was to string telephone lines to the front line company. So here's the rear company, and up here's the front line company. We had to string them from here to here as we moved up. In other words, they called it Abel, Baker, Charlie, Dog, the front line companies. We had to do all of our work at night. We didn't allow to carry no flashlights, and we wasn't supposed to carry a gun, but we did. And when we would have to have a line out, our switchboard was a small switchboard that would fit no bigger than this table. There was 3 operators operated that. They would pick 2 of us to go out, and we had to get that line in our hand and trace it. We had to do all of our work at night, don't forget. And trace it, just follow it until maybe it was a twisted wire, and maybe one wire would be broke. And we would splice that back together and put our telephone on there, which was a WWII telephone, a field telephone, and crank it back, and you would get the front line, and then you would get our switchboard. And if you got them both, the line was done, just to come on back in. But sometimes the tank would run over them lines and you couldn't find the other end of it. And so we had to take and splice a wire on there and go to the front line company where they were the front line, the very front line. And at the dugout, their dugout or wherever they was at, in an old house or in a basement or whatever. And run our line into their telephone and call back, and if it was okay, we'd come on back. We never camped outside. We always tried to find a dugout or a basement or a old house that wasn't bombed down. And that's about all that we did.
It was enough.
And you didn't work in pairs, only when the sergeant said, Bob said, you and Joe run this line tonight. Okay, so Joe DeVario, he was from Sharon, Pennsylvania. And we would go out and get the line, and it might be a short trip, you know, and it might be clear to the front line company again. We weren't allowed to carry no lights, wasn't supposed to carry a gun, but I did carry a carbine. Yeah. The M1 was too heavy.
Carried the 35 carbine?
Huh?
You carried the 35 carbine?
Carbine was a 30 caliber.
30 caliber,
Yeah. I think it was, yeah.
Well, you already answered my other question, which was what did you do?
Yeah, that's what I did.
My other one was what rank did you get?
PFC. Never went any higher.
Private first class?
And when I was, what do they call it, out of the Army, the port of debarkation, or, you know, when you get back, I think it was over the Indian Town Gap, I'm not sure. They tried to talk me into going back into service, and I would be a tech corporal or whatever, I forget what it was. They wanted to promote me because I had the experience on the wires, you know. And that was about it. We never put lines overhead. They always laid on the ground.
Now, did you bury him after that?
Huh?
Did you have to bury him after?
No, we just lay him right there, right on top of the ground. And one of the guys, Al Rock, was from Atwater, Ohio. Are you recording this?
Yeah.
And Al Rock was from Atwater. Me and him was out on the line one night, and he could speak fluent German. Al Rock could. And Vic was on the switchboard that night. So when we got out there and got the line spliced together, Al Rock got talking, you know, dialed it, and the line was fixed, and him and Vic was talking German over the phone. And the colonel issued a red alert, said we've been invaded.
Oh my God.
And because they were talking German, and he didn't know both of them could talk German. He was right there in the house where he was at.
That's something.
But that was something. It was warned not to do that again.
Another one I have was, did you get to see any famous people like Churchill or Roosevelt or Bob Hope or any of them?
No, never did.
Dad got to see MacArthur.
Oh, did he? Yeah. I might have, but didn't know it or something, you know. But I don't remember.
You didn't get to go to any of the Bob Hope?
Huh?
Did you get to go to any of the Bob Hope?
No, but it went into the theater over there in Rome.
Oh.
I don't know where that's at. There's a little thing here. Stars and Stripes papers.
That's neat that you kept some of the newspapers.
That right there, I got to see. That was at Rome when we stayed there about a week or so.
What was the name of it?
It's in a big theater
The
over there.
Royal Opera House in
Yeah.
Rome.
Yes.
And that was when you first went over there?
That was after the war started. Yeah, really. It was put on by who? It tells who was there.
Irving Berlin.
Irving Berlin put on a performance
presents
there.
the musical show This Is the Army. Copyright 1944 in Irving Berlin.
I bet there's not very many of them copies left around.
I'd save that if I were you.
This is the Army.
He put on a good show there. Of course, they had American women over there doing the dancing and stuff in it, you know. And at times on the field, we would get pulled back from the front line, and they would put up a screen out in the field and show picture shows.
Oh, neat.
And when we were close to Anzio, they did that one night, and every night, about 9 o'clock, well, Anzio, Andy would come over. It was an airplane, a German airplane would come over, and if he could see a light, he would bomb it, you know, drop bombs.
Oh.
And so when they'd hear him a-coming, they would shut the picture show off. And everybody had to put your cigarettes out and everything,
Oh, okay.
because he was going to drop a bomb someplace. And mostly it was in Anzio, really. But we got by with that.
A little entertainment, huh?
A little entertainment, yeah.
What you got, buddy?
I just describe like an average day, like from the morning and stuff. Like
We
what'd
were
you do
not
in the
allowed
morning?
outside in the daytime. We had to stay inside in the daytime.
Oh.
If we were in a house, we could go out and look out the back door and stand there and look out the back door, but you were not allowed around where the Germans could see us, because there was more than just two of us in there. There was probably a dozen people in this house.
Okay.
And we stayed in one up at, I don't know where it was at anymore. It was a great big old house. And the Italians were still living there. They were living in a cave right down the hill. They were living in a cave. They moved out of the house. I suppose the Germans occupied it one time. And we stayed in there for, I don't know, probably a week or so. And we strung our lines from there, you know. And finally, one time they decided to pull us out of there, and another company come in and took over. And they pulled us back to the back. And we had to walk up over a high hill and down the other side to a little town. Well, we all walked up over that hill and come down the other side, and when the company moved back in there, they bombed that house to nothing. Bombed it to nothing.
Wow. You
How many
got
days?
Artillery and bombs.
How many days after you left did that collapse?
Well, see, they didn't know we was there until we moved out.
What'd
it
you
seemed- I
guys do?
assumed
What'd you
they
guys
didn't.
do for food?
Huh?
What'd you guys do for food?
We had K rations.
What was in those?
Something to eat. Different. I don't know what there was, really.
My dad won't eat carrots or fruit cocktail because of the war.
Yeah. We might have got that, I don't know.
Yeah.
But and sometimes we would be pulled back from the front lines, and they would set up a kitchen, and we could go to a kitchen where they cook it, and go through the line and eat. One time we were moving up, and to a different location, and this man and woman, Italian, were sitting in the kitchen, you know, and they're just sitting there like this. They were scared to death, you know, because the Germans had occupied that, and then they left. Sitting there like that, and Joe DeVario, he could speak fluent Italian. He was in our outfit, and he was from Sharon, Pennsylvania. I mentioned him a while ago. And so he talked to him in Italian and told him that we were Americans, and that he was, you know, fighting the Germans. And boy, she jumped up and down and jabbered something to him, and he run out, and what Joe said, yes, she told him to go out and get a chicken and fry these boys some chicken. and when he come back in, we got the orders to move up. We had to move out before she got done.
That's something.
And one of our staff sergeants was killed on that property.
Oh.
He was a staff sergeant he was in the mines where they lay mines and retrieved mines after the Germans moved. And he had some new recruits. And he was sitting in the middle, and he had his recruits sitting around like this. And the Italian told him there's a tank mine buried out there. So he went out there and dug that mine out, but he made one mistake. He didn't check for a booby trap. And when he pulled the mine out, it exploded and killed him, just blowed him all to bits. You couldn't even see nothing. And never hurt none of the other troops. He had them sitting back far enough. And Joe DeVario and me just moved into that house. we no more got in the house, girl. Boom, you know. We run out to see what happened, and that's what happened. Another incident that happened on that. When we had to move up, we had to move over, I'm going to say to our left. The front was this way, and over to the left, we had to move over to another house. And Sergeant came around and said, Bob, said, you and Joe ride the Jeep over there, the wire Jeep. That was our name of our Jeep, the wire Jeep, because it had a roll of wire on the back. And I said, how are you going to get over there in the Jeep? He said, we'll go down this side road and cross there. I said, that's all out in the open. I don't want to ride on that Jeep. He said, Joe and me looked out here, this big ditch out here takes us right over to that house. I said, we're going to walk over. And so he gave another guy, they gave two other guys, soldiers, I don't know who they were, and the guy sitting in the right rear, when the Jeep was going down the road, run over a landmine, and it killed him. It killed him.
That's the road you were going to take?
That was the road we would have taken. And Joe and me decided to walk over. We didn't want to be out in the open. But the Germans was up there in the mountains. They could see you, but it was a tank mine that they ran over.
You had some pretty close shaves then, didn't you?
Couple. Yep, couple. Yep.
What other important dates does he have wrote down in his envelope? He enlisted, read it out, buddy, just in case it didn't take.
No, I didn't enlist. I was drafted.
Oh, you were drafted? Okay.
Yes, Biddy quit.
Well, you entered on September 11th, 1943. Left Fort Thomas September 20th.
That's down here on the other side of Cincinnati.
Okay.
Left Camp Patrick Henry on March 3rd, 1944. Where's that at?
You know, I don't know where that was at. See, you had Fort Thomas is where they got all of the information.
Okay.
You know, and checked you out for your health and everything. And what was the name of that?
Fort Camp
Camp Landing?
Patrick Henry.
Patrick Henry, I don't know. Don't remember that one. But we went to Camp Landing, Florida for our training.
Oh.
Dad's was before you got to Baltimore, Maryland. Or
Yeah.
Before you got to, not Baltimore. Yeah, it was because we flew into Baltimore.
Oh, is that
and
right?
he
Yeah.
saw his camp where he went into. So what date was that, buddy? Camp Patrick Henry was what?
1944.
1944.
And arrived in Italy on March 29th, 1944.
Yeah.
Took you almost a month to get there.
Yeah. They had one of those, the cargo ships is all it was, just a big
That's what
tub.
Oh, you went over on a ship?
Yeah. And for some reason, in the where you slept, they had bunks so far apart, you know, just far enough that you could set up and wouldn't bump the other one.
Oh.
And I was up 7 high in that. And,
That's all.
And when we got out in the ocean, that old ship rocked back and forth, and if you was walking, you know, to go to your bunk, and it went this way, there's going to be a foot of water come over here. So you had to climb up on something, get up, so you didn't get your feet wet.
Oh my gosh.
Well, when then it would go the other way, then you'd run to your bunk and get up there real quick. And we went through that all the way over to Italy.
Wow.
And we docked at Napoli.
Thermopylae?
Yeah, Naples. We dropped at Naples. Betty, hey, somebody must be walking down the road. Oh, there's a car out there. Says it's coming in. Got his blinker on.
So you drove a Jeep that was your job, to drive Jeeps?
Yep.
And set wires?
Yep. I worked for the motor pool lieutenant. After the war was over, I worked for the motor pool lieutenant. That was my job, was to drive him wherever he needed to go on a Jeep.
Oh.
And if I wanted to use the Jeep after I was in there a while, he would let me use it to go someplace. And on a Sunday, we didn't have anything to do. We were back in Plezzo, Italy at that time. It was in the northern part of Italy. We backed up. And Al Rock and me went down to just take a ride one day. We got a trip ticket just to take a ride. Went by a little amusement stand down there, and we were shooting the targets, you know, with like a 22, and the targets are going across there, little ducks.
Yeah.
So after we left there, we started on back to camp, and going down this road, there was two girls. And they were pushing a bicycle. So we pulled up and stopped and asked them if we could help them, and one of the girls spoke English. And she said, yeah. I said, we just had a flat tire, and we gotta take it, walk it back home. I said, where you live? She said, up there. And the house looked like it was about that high. And she said, we told them, said, put that in here, we'll take you up there. No car has ever been up there. No car has ever been up there.
Oh my gosh.
And said, well, then we explained to her, because she could speak English, fluent English, that we had four-wheel drive, and we'd take her up there, just show us how to get up there, and it was an old winding road just like this. And we get up there, and they jumped off of the Jeep and went in, mama, mama, mama. and so Mama, she come out, and she was cleared up, clapping for us to bring him her bicycle up there and everything. And here come all the neighbors out, and they brought wine and bread, and we had a party there.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
That's great. First vehicle they saw probably, huh?
Yeah.
Isn't that something?
They weren't our girlfriends, they're just girls that we met, you know. What was her name? Can't think of her name. She could speak four languages. It's not, I'm not too sure she wasn't a spy, you know.
Really?
Yeah. Mafalda Narcisa was her name. Now, how did I get that out of my head? I don't know. Mafalda Narcisa.
Oh my gosh. So what's the last date on the service record, buddy? When did you get to come home?
Well, he arrived home December 30th, 1945.
Yeah.
No. Right after Christmas.
When I got out of the service, wherever I got out at, it tells there where I got out at, didn't it?
Indiantown Gap, Pennsylvania. That was where you were discharged.
Yeah, that's where the Spirit of St. Louis came through Trotwood, the train, and they sent us on the Spirit of St. Louis to come back to Dayton, and then I got a taxi. Me and another guy, he was from Troy. We were coming to West Milton, and he got a taxi or got somebody to take him home from West Milton. And I walked up to my brother's house right there by the elevator. He lived right there by the elevator. And when I walked in and knocked on the door, he said, "I've seen you standing there with a silhouette," and said, "I knew who it was because we knew he was on the way home." So he said, "Let's go out and see Mom and Dad." Well, Mom was sick in bed at the time. She hadn't been up for a couple days.
This was your mom and dad's house.
Yes, at Potsdam.
Yeah.
And when I walked in the front door, she got up and her sickness was over. And so that's when I got home that day.
But everybody knew you were coming then, huh?
Yeah.
Everybody knew you were coming.
Well, they knew I was coming, but didn't know when.
Oh, okay.
Because I had called them from someplace that we were on the way home.
That's something.
Yeah. The Spirit of St. Louis, whenever that horn, when he got ready to move, he'd go beep, beep, you better be on that train. Go,
Can I see that one paper, the Stars and Stripes?
And another thing, after the war was over, my motor pool lieutenant come around, he said, "Bob, would you like to take a week's trip up in Switzerland? It costs you $80 for this trip." Said, "Sergeant so-and-so is going to go." And I said, "I don't have the money to go. I don't have $80. He said, I'll pay your ticket for you to go, and you can pay me back when you get the money." And he said, "You'll never get another chance like this in your life." It was 1 week up in Switzerland by train. All the trains up there is electric. In fact, I just watched one here on TV just last week.
Did you really?
Travel. And we stopped at different places up there, stayed overnight. Everything was set up. It never cost us a cent other than I bought 2 wristwatches while I was up there.
Oh. That's neat. It tells about the war and stuff.
Yeah.
You still have the wristwatches?
Yeah, but they're wore
Oh,
out.
let me see those little pictures, hon.
Huh?
Those little pictures and stuff you have there. Over
Right there.
there. All the little stuff. Mm-hmm.
I think this is different pictures of towns in Italy that I've been in.
Oh.
Here's a Pisa thing.
It's Lacca Maggiore there. That's right on
Here's
the
that.
Italy-French border.
Oh, look how they did the pictures back then.
Show the camera.
Mm-hmm. These are neat.
Me and another guy, I don't know, probably Alexander Rock, took a drive that Sunday because we wanted to see Lacca Maggiore. Lake Marjorie is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
They call it Maggiore. And we went there, but you couldn't cross the bridge because that was France over there, just like from here over across your house was France.
Oh.
And so I walked across over there, and the guard stopped me. And I said, "How can I just step over the bridge here and walk around a little bit so I can say I've been in France?" "Yeah, go ahead," he said. There was 2 American guards there.
There's a picture of the Leaning Tower. Dad
Yeah.
thought that was neat.
I was up there 2 times.
Was she really?
Yeah, Leaning
Yes,
Tower,
it-
Pisa.
Isn't that neat?
Yeah.
That is nice.
When I seen that thing there, that little tin can I got her box there, I seen that. I said I gotta have that. I bought that as a flea market.
Is that what all the towns look like?
Yes,
Isn't that beautiful?
yeah, beautiful
Wow.
places.
Pisa.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bought that over at the flea market. Leaning Tower, Pisa.
Huh.
But you
Yeah.
didn't write much on there. You didn't write anything.
When was it?
You wrote it to your mom.
Yeah.
It was July 14th, 19 something.
Might have not had time to write on it.
Oh.
Did you use a fountain pen for this?
I guess.
Looks like it.
No, that there. Did that come from Italy? I don't know. I don't think it did. I can't tell what date it is. That's a riverboat down in Cincinnati, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
Here's a
Island.
watch brochure.
Yeah, that's where I bought my watches at.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
There you can see it has all the things, all the watches that they sold.
And another thing, I had a set of American binoculars, you know,
Yeah.
just about like the ones I got now. And I found them when I was walking through the lines one time, walking up, and they were tramped in the mud. So I picked them up and washed them off, and then they fogged up inside, and I took them all apart and wiped them out good. And I had them on me when I was up in Switzerland, and went into the watch store, and this lady said, said, my father would love to have a pair of binoculars. He said he'd get pretty old if he's up, and he could look out over Lacca Maggiore. And she said, I'll trade you a watch for them. And so we made a trade.
Isn't that
I left
something?
him have it.
Huh.
Those are neat. What other little books does he have there, buddy? Can't blame me.
That's Camp Blanding, Florida.
Mhm.
That's where we took our basic training at.
Oh, okay.
You have Italian money?
Yes, money I brought back from over there.
Dad has
It's called Lears,
yeah. Hold one of those up, buddy. What was it called? Lear?
isn't it?
Isn't that neat? L-I-R-E. Yeah.
Well, them lottery tickets.
Lottery tickets.
It said lottery on the back.
Oh.
I don't know where they was from. Think you see one of them.
Let me shoot the camera real quick. Can you see it all?
Yep.
I don't know where. There's a real fine writing right there.
Ryan
I
can.
can read it.
Ryan can read. He's taken some of the
There's
foreign
magnifying
languages.
glass right there.
I can read it. I can probably decipher it.
That might have come from the Virgin Islands. I'm not sure.
Um,
Or it could have come from Italy. I don't know. Dean's was in this stuff. I would say
Wow.
yes, it came
How
from
did
Italy.
this was
you-
from October of 1935.
How did you get paid,
Oh,
and
is that
how
right?
did you?
Yeah.
No, I don't think that came from Italy.
How did you get money to buy basics when you were on your own?
Huh?
How did you get money?
We got paid so much every month.
Okay, so you
Yeah.
actually got it in
Yes.
your hand. Okay.
It wasn't very much. I think it was around $65. And we got a beer ration every month.
Mhm.
And Kenny Eckelberger, he lived at Langdondale, Pennsylvania. He loved beer, and I didn't like beer, so I never used my coupons for that. I always give them to Kenny.
Oh.
And after the war was over, we was in a motel back in some smaller town, in a hotel. And our beer ration come in, and he drank up all his beer ration.
Mhm.
And
Oh, there we go.
he said, Bob said, "You got any beer left?" I said, "Yeah." So I give him some beer, and he laid there on his bed and got so drunk that he would just drink a beer, gulp, 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 and the way it would go, just like that, all over the terrazzo floor. We had to sweep it up. We had a lot of fun in the Army. Met a lot of fellas.
Another
That's
picture
my
of you?
graduation picture.
Aw, boy, Bob, look at you. Man. I don't think
Changed a
I've-
little bit, haven't
I don't think I've ever seen a young picture of you like that.
I? Yeah.
My goodness.
I don't know if they got anything in the back or anything.
No,
You can
nothing's in
open
it.
it up and look at it. I don't know what's in there.
There's nothing inside this one.
Yeah.
Well, it was at one point.
Empty.
And here you can look at that.
I'll look
I
at this
brought that
first.
back from Italy. It just shows, it don't show us in there, but it's yeah, just a good booklet that picked up over there someplace.
Mm-hmm.
It was put out probably by the Stars and Stripe papers.
Mm. Looks like they covered all the stories and everything.
Yes, I'm not in it.
Dad's in a lot of printed books.
Oh, is that right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
More so than you think.
Yeah.
We bought him one of those big ones, big print, big pictures, and he found himself in there too.
Yeah.
And he found some of his friends,
Yeah.
and some of his friends just recently died. But he has an amazing memory like you do. He can remember it all.
Yeah. Yeah. When we first got on Anzio, we went in after Anzio was captured. Anzio was a town.
Mhm.
We came down from Naples, got on a big boat, come down to Naples, and they unloaded us there. And
How'd you get unloaded off that boat?
They just put a ramp down to the dock
Oh,
at Anzio,
Okay.
and the harbor wasn't bombed out.
Okay.
And part of Anzio was destroyed on account of the big gun that sat over in the mountain that the Germans would roll out and shoot. Anzio and Annie, they called that. You could hear the shell going, boom. And when we got off the boat, these Army trucks was coming in there. Boy, they were just squealing around the corners and everything, you know. Well, we didn't know nothing about Anzio Anna, the big gun, you know. And so we got on that, and my gosh, she took out through the country, you know, just back and forth, just getting out of Anzio. And here come another truck, did the same thing, loading us up and getting us out of there. And
So action from day one.
and we got out there, and when they dropped us off, said, "How come you drive like this?" He said, "Well, don't you know they bomb that big gun shoots in the Anzio, and we got to get out of there just as quick as you can." And the barrel on that thing was that big around on the end where they shot this big shell over there. We finally run onto it going up through the mountains, and so that's why they did that. And when we got there, they sent us to such and such building, and pretty soon, here come the captain. He said, "Ganger, DeVario, Rock," named all of our names off, and Store, that was one of them. There was 5 of us left that night. He said, "Come with me. You're coming in as replacements." And so he said, "Now, this is war zone here." He said, "No lights, no cigarettes." He said, "Follow me. And if I say on the double, if I say hit the ditch, you jump in the ditch." He said, "Because they shell this road all the time." And I bet we didn't get as far as from here to Johnny Cress's barn up here. And he heard one a-coming. He could hear them a-coming.
Really?
And he said, "Hit the ditch." And we all jumped in the ditch on that side. It was probably twice the dip, well, probably that deep. And all the shells landed on the other side of the road. And when he jumped up, he said, "Everybody okay?" Yeah, we jumped up and said, "Yeah." And he said, "Follow me on the double." And he took us up to the front lines and put us in there, in with the front line troops. Now this was, if you looked out the front window or something, you know, of course there wasn't no windows, but the Germans were right over there. And he said, whatever you do, no lights, no cigarettes. He said, this is the very front line. This is it. So he left us in there, and pretty soon the sergeant came and called our names. The four of us went together again and took us over to where the switchboard was and set us up and everything. And that was on Anzio. We stayed there until they did the big bombing on the Germans on the mountains that time. They told us the day it was happening what was going to happen. That we was making a big push on Anzio. And I never heard so much noise in all my mind. The mountains was up in front of us, you know, and they just bombed that with dive bombers and big planes and all this artillery. It shot for 1 hour. It went on for 1 hour. And the next morning was the same way, for 2 mornings straight. They shot for 1 hour.
When did you finally get rest?
That was our initiation, I guess. And then we started moving up from house to house all the way through Italy. House or dugout. We stayed in the house that got bombed out. The top of it was gone, but it was still a root cellar. And we stayed in there one night. We stayed in there 2 or 3 nights. And everybody put their, you know, their, whatever, there wasn't no cots down there. You just slept on the bed or make you something temporary out of some boards. And went to bed one night, and what the heck's that? And somebody flipped the light on, there was a rat sitting here on my belly. There were rats in there. So we started shooting them.
Oh, God. Ooh.
Lord.
Oh, my God, Bob. Lord. Dad never told me about his sleeping quarters or anything, but...
His what?
Dad never told me about his sleeping arrangements.
Well, sometimes it was pretty good. Yeah. We were moving up another night, and we moved into a little town. I don't remember what it was, but they said now the latrines were right out here in the orchard. Latrines, they had trenches dug to relieve yourself. Al Rock, he said, I got to go to the bathroom. I said, well, 2 trenches out there. He's there with his pants down, doing his job, and 2 Germans come walking by. And they seen him and they started laughing, but they just threw their guns down. They was giving up.
Oh.
And he had an awful time getting his pants up. Of course, one of the other soldiers seen that too happen, and they got him up there and put handcuffs on him real quick.
Oh my God.
But if it would have still been war, he would have got killed right there. Yeah.
But they were laughing and everything.
Yeah, they laughed at it because they walked up through there, and they were giving up.
He was mooning everybody, huh?
Yeah, we got a big kick out of that. Of course, it probably scared him to death, you know. Yeah.
So you were the driver of the Jeep, huh?
Huh?
Were you the driver of the Jeep?
Not until after the war was over. I was the driver for the motor pool lieutenant.
Oh.
And that paid off good because we went to one of the beaches one day. Bobby said, you gotta go take me over to the beach over here. It was up in northern Italy someplace. And he said, it's about 50 miles away. He said, I've been hearing some things about this beaches. So we went out there and parked on the beach, and the people come out getting on the beach. Some of them was swimming, and said, now watch these 2 ladies here. They've already got their bathing suits on from home, and they all started undressing, you know. We thought we were going to see a show, but that was all we've seen.
So that's why I wanted to go to the beach, huh?
Yeah. Another time, well, I did all of his driving for him. I took him into a town. I don't know where it was at anymore. I don't think it was Naples because we weren't close to Naples yet. But anyway, it was some small town, and dropped him off, and he said, that was in Rome. No, it wasn't either. It was farther down than that. And he said, I'm going to be here for 2 hours. Said, pick me up in 2 hours. And I didn't ask him where he was going or nothing. He walked in a building, and And he said, you go anywhere you want to, just be back here in 2 hours. And when 2 hours was up, I was sitting there waiting on him. Here he come.
Oh.
So I don't know if he might have had a girlfriend there.
What'd you do for 2 hours?
Just drove around in town.
Oh.
Just drove around. Another time, we were stationed in I don't know where it was at, what town it was. And we walked uptown there, and we was walking, and you know, and said bicycles for rent. So we rented 2 bicycles. It cost us $100 a piece to rent them. Said you can stay out as long as you want to, just bring a bicycle back, you get your money back. Yeah, that was pretty nice. That was pretty decent idea, this guy renting bicycles. So we was all over that town. Up this street, down that street, and took him back, and he looked them all over. He said, here's your money back.
So how did they all get around? Is bicycles a big way of transportation there?
Yeah, that was the main thing for them, really. Because naturally there wasn't very many cars that would run, because they might have had them stored away or something, I don't know, but I doubt it. Get around the Jeep otherwise. And that's the first I'd rode a bicycle when I was in the service.
Oh.
I mean, I rode them at home, you know, years before.
Nice bicycles, big back then, weren't they?
Yes, And I was in Florence, Italy. I was there for a weekend. And, of course, there was a Army compound set up there, too. But I was away from my company for a weekend it was. And while I was there, I was walking down to a mall, you know. This guy said, come in, I'll take your picture. So he took a picture of me in my Army sweater. And, I had I had the Army sweater on. And he took a picture of me. And he said, I make you a better picture. You come back tomorrow and get it. Well, we moved out that night. And I couldn't then we went up front, you know. And I couldn't get back. So I asked the first sergeant, I said, I got to go back to Florence and pick up a picture that the guy took of me and hand painted it. He hand painted it after he took a picture of me.
Okay.
And sergeant said, our company Jeep goes back there to pick up the newspapers every day. Said you go in town with him and pick up your paper and your picture, and then you can come back, you know, with him. So sure enough I did. And another time, Al Rock and me had taken 2 officers to Anzio, or to Naples, for port of debarkation, and we had a 1-week trip ticket for us. We didn't have to be back in camp for 1 week. And while we was there, on the way down there, the oil pump went out on my Jeep, so we had to be towed by a semi-truck, not a pickup, but a little Army truck, big one. And he got us into town there, and he said, now you take that Jeep over there to that building over there, and said they'll fix you up, put a new oil pump on and everything. So I went over there, and Rock me did, and said, how come you got slick tires on this Jeep? He said, every one of them's slick. I said, I know it. I said, we can't get no tires up front. He said, come back here and look. Welcome to the warehouse, as big as this bowling alley up here, or bigger, and it was just stacked full of tires. He said, I'll put you on 5 brand new tires.
No.
So when we got back to camp, Lino, he was over the motor pools. He was the big shot over that, you know. And he said, Bob said, where did you get them tires at? I said, well, when they repaired my Jeep up there, I said, they told me they'd go put me on 5 new tires. He said, we can't get no tires up here. You come back with 5 of them. The next morning, my rear tire was going. My spare was going.
That's something. So compared to Jimbo's Jeep, was it bigger? Or was it
about the size of Jimbo?
Was it really?
Yeah.
But that was rough.
The captain at the motor pool, he said, Bob said, can you put a roof on this thing? I said, well, yeah, but I have to have some boards and plywood to do it. So I closed it in.
Oh.
Left the doors open so we could get out.
Yeah.
But I put some tarps or something here so they could drive, drop them if it was raining or something.
Right.
And So I made
The
it.
Jeep knew we were talking about it. You hear it beeping?
So I boxed it in with some plywood. I don't know where we got the plywood at anymore. But
Really?
we had it there where we was at. So
Probably one of
Probably
your
come-
dad's.
probably come from old crates.
Yeah.
Buddy, this table used to be Mommy and Daddy's. It was our very first table.
Oh.
We refinished it.
Oh, is that right? I didn't know that. I knew it was yours. But
It was our very